morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, March 7th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, joined by Steve Helwagen. Steve, Ohio State's spring practice starts tomorrow morning at 8:30. Always an exciting time. The entire practice is open to the media. We'll get to film and shoot the first 30 minutes or so. Then the rest of the practice is also open to the media. We won't be able to film or shoot after the first 30 minutes, but we do get to see the entire practice, and then we get to meet with Urban Meyer afterward. There's going to be plenty of good questions for Coach Meyer. Like I said, it's always an exciting time of the year, Steve, when spring ball is starting.
It definitely is, Dave, and it, in some regards, it kind of snuck up on you this year. I mean, it's so, early to me. I mean, March, 7th seems kind of early to be getting into this, but with Ohio State on the semester schedule here the last few years, that's kind of what they've gone to. It used to not begin until early April and would be over late part of April, but kind of accelerated things now the way that it's scheduled, and they get right back into it. They finished up their winter conditioning this past weekend, and now it's time to get back on the football field. And I think, again, no shortage of jobs that are open, only 6 returning starters. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see who shows up and how they do, starting on Tuesday.
Yeah, very interesting schedule. They have 2 practices this week, Tuesday and Thursday, and then they take a week off for spring break, and then they resume practice on Tuesday, March 22nd. So they get 2 practices in, then they'll get 12 practices in after spring break, and then the 15th practice will be the spring game on April 16th. So again, tomorrow morning, 8:30, first practice of spring ball. We will meet with Coach Urban Meyer afterward, about 11:30 a.m., so Steve and I will be there covering it all. Speaking of football, big-time recruit Ohio State landed yesterday. J.K. Dobbins, one of the best running backs in the country. He's actually listed as an all-purpose back, the number 2 all-purpose back in the country, number 56 overall player in the country in the 2017 class. He's out of LaGrange, Texas. Listen to these stats this last year, Steve. 2,741 rushing yards, 35 touchdowns. Playing in Texas, that's big-time high school football, just like here in Ohio. It's not like he's doing this, nothing against the state of Indiana. It's not like he's putting up these stats against Indiana high school football players. So J.K. Dobbins, this kind of came out of nowhere. Steve, he hasn't even visited Ohio State yet, which I find interesting. He commits to Ohio State, has not even visited Ohio State yet. He had a big-time offer list, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Florida State, Notre Dame, and many others. This 2017 recruiting class just keeps getting better, Steve.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they took a player from Ann Arbor, Michigan last week, and now a player from the heart of Texas this week, and, he's excited to be an Ohio State Buckeye. So this is truly a national recruiting push by Urban Meyer and his assistants, and you think about the running back position. They need to rebuild the depth there. Obviously, they're going to lose Briante Dunn after this year. They'll have Michael Weber, Antonio Williams, obviously there, and Todd Sibley is coming in as well in 2017. So they've got a little bit of depth they're rebuilding at a key position, and it just seems to me like he should be a great fit in Ohio State's offense going forward.
They also have Curtis Samuel, and who knows if he's going to play running back, but I tend to think Curtis Samuel will play running back this year. I think it's going to be running back by committee. Of course, Curtis Samuel can also move to H-back, so perhaps Curtis Samuel will be the H-back, and somebody like Mike Weber will be the running back. Who knows? But, yeah, getting J.K. Dobbins, just a huge get, and I hope this is not a soft commit. Doesn't sound like it is, but the fact that he has not visited Ohio State concerns me a little bit, but hopefully that's nothing to worry about.
He'll absolutely love it especially if they get him in there for an early season game, or get him to come up for Michigan State or rather the Michigan game, and I think he'll love it. So there's no doubt about that.
He does tell Steve Weltfong, director of recruiting for 24/7 Sports, he plans to visit Ohio State by the end of March. So that's good. He says, yes, I think me and my family are going to love it, is what he says. So he sounds like he is sold. So J.K. Dobbins is a Buckeye. Okay, staying in the Big Ten, Lovie Smith taking over as the head coach at Illinois. I absolutely love this. A very Big Ten thing to do is to keep an interim head coach like Bill Cubitt, nice guy. He was a mediocre coach in the MAC at Western Michigan, not cut out to be a Big Ten head coach. Illinois promotes him. He goes from an interim head coach to permanent head coach. This new athletic director comes in and says, He fires Bill Cubitt, fires his son, and hires Lovie Smith, a guy that went to the Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears as their head coach, a guy that was the Tampa Bay Bucks coach, a guy that was at Ohio State for 1 year in 1995 under Coop. He was also at Wisconsin back in 1987. He has a little bit of Big Ten experience. Steve, the Big Ten needs to do more of this. I love this for Illinois. I don't think they're a sleeping giant, but I think they have a lot more potential than what they've shown. And Lovie Smith, it seems like a home run hire to me.
I would agree, Dave. I think that this is huge, and if this is what Lovie Smith wants to do, he's been in the NFL for most of the last 20 years. If this is what he wants to do, and I wouldn't say he's in the twilight of his coaching career. I mean, this is a guy who played at Tulsa for John Cooper many thousand years ago, but and that's how Coop got him up to Columbus, at least for a year or two as an assistant coach before he went on to be a very good NFL assistant and then on to an NFL head coaching job, as you said. And I think he's going to carry that cachet in Chicagoland that nobody has really had at that program in a long time, because there was a stat. Tim Beckman, was the guy who was the head coach there the last 3 or 4 years before he was fired before the last season started and replaced by Cubitt. And they said in 4 years there were 40-some 4-star or 5-star players in Chicagoland, and Illinois signed 4 of them. So that's a problem. And I think that is what Lovie Smith is being hired to do, is to keep the best players in Chicagoland and Illinois at home at the University of Illinois, something that has not been happening. And I don't want to predict or say, they're going to win the national championship at Illinois, but I think the football program in Illinois is set to have a major upgrade, and I think they're going to get in there, and it's going to take them a year or two to probably get some really great players in there. But I think the future looks bright, and that West Division is wide open for the taking. I mean, Wisconsin seems to be kind of up and down a little bit, and Nebraska still can't get its feet under it. So Iowa, Kirk Ferentz, I mean, he had a great year this year, but I think that West Division's wide open for the taking, and maybe Illinois can get up there one of these years.
Let's finish the show with some basketball discussion. Ohio State lost to Michigan State on Saturday, and Michigan State's just so damn good. 91-76. I can't believe how good of a shooting team they are and just how good they are overall, and I'm used to them being very good. So the Buckeyes, I think if they would have won that game, I think they would have been in the NCAA tournament now. They're going to have to win the Big Ten tournament to get in the NCAA tournament. So hello, NIT madness. The Buckeyes are the number 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They will play 10th-seeded Penn State on Thursday. The winner gets Michigan State. Goodness gracious. I've been saying maybe if they win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, they can get in. I don't think so. I think they have to win this whole thing. I don't think they're going to get past Michigan State anyway if they do beat Penn State. So I don't know, Steve. I guess just get ready for the NIT, huh?
Yeah, my experience is that if you're not in the tournament going into the conference tournament, I mean, short of winning the conference tournament, there's not much you can really do, because the committee has the thing, has the field, has the bracket pretty well set, and they're not going to uproot it for somebody that goes 3-1 in a conference tournament. And that belies the fact, certainly, that Ohio State could possibly beat Michigan State. And now let's start with Penn State. They did beat them by one game that they played them, and held Michigan State to 33% shooting, although Penn State has been pretty good down the stretch. They've won 4 of their last 6 games. Ohio State's won 5 of their last 7. The 2 losses were to the number 2 team in the country with Michigan State. So the Buckeyes, both teams are playing good ball, reasonably good ball right now. So it's not a shoo-in that the Buckeyes will beat Penn State, but they should. And then you advance on and play Michigan State. You lost to them at home by 19, lost to them on the road by 15, and they shot lights out both games that they played them. And, whether they have a chance or not to beat Michigan State, I guess just show up and play the game. But doesn't look good. Denzel Valentine has promised a national championship at Michigan State, and it's kind of hard to argue with it. If they get a good draw and don't get, saddled with a tough regional to get to the Final Four, that's the big thing. And then, I thought it was very interesting on, it was Friday, Seth Greenberg had picked Michigan State to defeat Kansas in the national championship game, and Andy Katz had picked the reverse result, Kansas to defeat Michigan State. And, it's easy to sit here and pick 1 versus 2 and 2 versus 1, but those 2 teams really do look like the best 2 teams in the country right now. And, I guess we'll see if Michigan State can prove that starting this weekend in Indianapolis. But Buckeyes certainly have their work cut out for them, and more than likely, as you said, NIT. And NIT, very interestingly, I would think Ohio State would have a home game Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, but would not be able to host a second-round game that weekend because all of the buildings in and around Columbus are pretty well booked up with the state championship shot and the OSU women probably playing NCAA at St. John Arena. So probably have to go on the road after that and take it there. So that's what it looks like, OSU basketball. I mean, obviously no Jayshawn Tate here down the stretch, and, any chance I think they had of cracking the big dance probably went by the wayside when he went down.
Great insights out of Steve Helwagen. Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, Dave. Take care.